Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. Every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of Keeping It Real. 2 decades of truth-telling, fearless advocacy, and keeping the people informed and empowered. Thank you for always speaking power to justice and standing firm for what's right. Here's to 20 years of impact and many more to come.
This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, National Action Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice. So I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Thursday, May 28th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners. And welcome to those listening on Sirius XM. Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And I see Demetrius Jones is on message board early, and it says, "Good afternoon, Reverend Al. Well, the con man has done it again. He has distracted us from the Epstein files. We all need to know who is in the files." Yeah, he does do that. And let me say, you can watch for a distraction. He's definitely going to play that game. And you can watch for his opposition to us or his supporters to start going on the internet, running lies down. Some will come on the message board. What they call them, bots? Trolls. And they're going to do that. They've been on vacation. We haven't heard from them since the election last year. But I'm glad to add to the employment rolls, get them a job. Make sure y'all get paid, because by November, you won't be on payroll no more. So troll all you want to. And they're going to try to throw so much, they being the Trump people, so much stuff happening that it's going to be flooding the zone. So you can't remember from one day to the next. What did he say about Iran again? What about this? Oh, he said that they were going to go down with gas prices. Did it happen? All that kind of stuff. So let's talk about today. And I think somebody's on the message board saying how to get in touch with somebody for National Action Network and become a member. What is the best way to speak with someone in NAN about becoming a member? Carolyn Williams, call 1-877-626-4651. 1-877-626-4651. And you can talk to a Christian right now. Tell them I told you to call on the air. Or you can go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and there's membership information right on the website. A lot to talk about today, and of course it's going to be Policy Day. Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin will be joining us. It seems like we're getting all kind of mixed signals on the war in Iran. The U.S. and Iran have traded strikes as President Trump resists ending the war. And an Israeli strike killed at least 14 people in a major Lebanese city ahead of the Washington talks. And now we are told the Justice Department, domestically, the Justice Department is opening up a criminal investigation on Jean Carroll. Jean Carroll is the woman who launched a criminal investigation on her. She's the one that won the lawsuit against Donald Trump for sexual abuse in 2023. So now his Justice Department is going after her, saying she perjured herself. And that's to cost her a lot of money and defend herself and all of that. So I keep saying to a lot of people that have just got involved in the movement or in politics that one of the things that you always should keep in mind is when you get in a fight, one of the reasons people train professional fighters, I used to go to all of Mike Tyson's fight. When I was younger, I went to a lot of the Muhammad Ali fights. I knew him in my early 20s, late teens. And one of the things I did watching both of them train is you train not only to hit, but you train to get hit. And a lot of us get in fights and run the first time somebody swing at us. That ain't a fight if ain't nobody fighting back. I tell a lot of young activists in NAN that got active in school and college or whatever, and then when people start trolling them on their websites or on their Facebook page, or when people start confronting them, they get rattled. And I said, yeah, because on campus, wasn't nobody fighting you. Captive audience, all of y'all was together. You get here in the public, you throw a shot, they're going to take a shot back at you. And one of the signs that you're effective is they come after you. I remember as controversies I get in, still now with this president attacking me periodically. And I had a friend of mine say to me, man, Al, they always after you. Yeah, because I'm always after them. Reason why no one is after you is you ain't done nothing to nobody. You're not threatening their power. You're not threatening their bias. You're not threatening institutions that have been set up to exclude us. So why is somebody going to mess with you? I'm working my way out this cold, y'all. So let us be real clear. The reason we got to fight, that's why I show up everywhere I can. That's why I have National Action Network functioning all across this country, because these people are trying to turn back the clock to 1950s. And they have all kind of insidious plans. They're now, Judge ruled this morning, that they can go forward in taking mail-in ballots and checking ID before they let you deal with mail-in ballots. They're moving every way they can to alleviate the vote.
But you know what the most dangerous part of the stifling our vote is? People in our own community, people that get on these talk shows calling, or people that get on these message boards and propagate vote don't change nothing. They're the ones that's dangerous because they put the doubt in people's mind. And those doubts is what led to enough people not voting, and Donald Trump became president. And it is absolutely crazy. And it is absolutely their plan to get you and I fighting each other, saying that things are not going to change, so they become in charge. I was on Morning Joe this morning, and Dr. Eddie Glauc has a book coming out talking about the 250th anniversary and what it means to us. And I was talking about, y'all got to remember, this is not our anniversary. We were slaves. Now, we can celebrate where we went, but we went from slavery to the White House with Obama with struggle. People killed, bloodshed, nights in jail. And we've got to mobilize and fight back now, because that's how we got voter protection and Civil Rights Act. That's why we're going to Washington August 28th. That's why we were the streets with no king. A guy asked me the other day, Al, I see you on TV, you still on the streets? I said, I was at the No Kings March on the front line. Were you there? Oh, no. I said, but you asking somebody else, are they in the streets? Just ignorance. If you just kept quiet, no one would know what you don't know. Let's take a break and let's get going. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, Shopton, keeping it real. Be right back. I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others. The way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. How you doing?
Rev, you know you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at that time, in Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm. But I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm.
You ready, sir?
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Or go Lord. Monica Spruill Charles says, hello, Reverend Al. We all know that that they do anything to distract us, and he calls everything fake news. He knows he's lying, and so do we. The distractions are there. You're so right. So right, Monica. Is a Bay says it's legal night tonight. How do I watch it online? Go to nationalactionnetwork.net. Legal night, the late, great attorney Michael Hardy, who started National Action Network with me, started Legal Night. And Legal Night is where you can call and get legal advice without paying a consultation fee to a lawyer. And we have a battery of lawyers there. We've been doing this, I guess Michael started about 11 years ago. And now some of our chapters do it around the country. Let's go to the phones. Let's start with Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, thank you, Larry Sharpton. Yes, it's good. It's good talking to you. The opportunity to speak. First of all, concerning the Department of Justice pursuing the case against Jim Carroll, To me, it's really a shame that the Department of Justice is not serving its function as an independent part of government, to go after those who break the law. Instead, it's a tool of Donald Trump, and when they're going after her, they can go after anyone who may be opposed to Donald Trump. So it's a threat to anyone, who have any type of opposition to his policies. Same with the Department of Justice. I want to have the funds set up, to pay those who align with Donald Trump. That I give them a senator, to try to have another coup with Donald Trump when his term is over with. So it's really a disservice to the country. It's a threat to the Congress people as well, Republicans and Democrats. Because I can understand why they are upset, because it really gives those who are opposed to Donald Trump to feel insecure and threatened, because their life would be threatened again. So they happened January 6th and past. And also, I'd like to mention the detainees who's being held in New Jersey, who's on a hunger strike. It's kind of to me, they on a hunger strike for a reason. Most people go on a hunger strike in prison because of conditions. I don't know if they're not getting a fair hearing for them to go to trial, a condition they live in. It's really a bad situation. Food might not be right, overcrowding, but it should be a concern. But what I'm hearing through the press, this administration, ICE just ignoring them, saying, well, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to wait them out until they break their hunger strike. But to me, it's really a serious situation, as some detainees there might not even be justified to be there. Because if they're not having a trial, they could be innocent people off the street who American citizens are there. So I believe that should really be.
Demetrius, the Reverend Steffi Botney, who heads our New Jersey chapter, really heads the whole Northeast region. He's been working with the activist groups there that has been protesting at this detention center. They will not let the governor, the newly elected governor, go in and see what's going on in the detention center. They pepper sprayed Senator from New Jersey, U.S. Senator Kim. So this is outrageous. And you are absolutely right. People don't go on a hunger strike unless there's some purpose that is that demanding of them. And if you're barring federal officials, and this is a federal encampment, how do you, by law, bar federal officials from reviewing the conditions there? A U.S. senator and others. It is, the most blatant, immoral, illegal thing I've seen in a many, many years.
I agree. It's like they setting up an organization that's outside of the law. It's like a murder squad. That can do what they want to. Don't have to follow the rule of law. They don't have to follow the Department of Justice. They have to follow the Constitution. It's like setting up a terror group that got immunity to do what they want to. By this administration, and hopefully the Supreme Court will step in and put some type of restrictions on it, on ICE, because administration not doing anything, and Congress don't want to do anything. Some Congress, I want to say all of them. So it's going to take the Supreme Court to uphold the Constitution to bring them in, because if not, everyone in America can be threatened by this organization, because they can either sweep up anyone, they can break into anybody's house, without a warrant, not just so-called immigrants. It can spill over to any American citizens. That's why it's important for this organization to be brought in and brought under control, so everyone can feel safe in their home and you can have the freedom to speak, the freedom to protest, and the freedom to live the way you want to, and not to be intimidated. Even going to the polls, they can use ICE to intimidate people going to vote. So that's what's very important, that this organization be brought in under control and not be a tool of this administration or any one party or group of people. Okay, thank you, very sharp.
All right, thank you, Demetrius. 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board and leave a message. Roderick McCoy is saying, I hate to say it, but Trump doesn't care about a hunger strike. He doesn't care about millions of people starving to death. I applaud him in his efforts, though. And I don't know how you applaud him in his efforts if you don't care about nobody. But they're your applause. You can give them to who you want. I'm not applauding them. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back. All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other.
There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about his love message. As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee, sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars, focus on the journey. Michael rose to the top. He outsang his cynics. He outdanced his doubters. He outperformed the pessimists. Every time he got knocked down, he got back up. Every time you counted him out, he came back in. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. I want to say to Mrs. Jackson and Joe Jackson, his sisters and brothers, we thank you for giving us someone that taught us love, someone that taught us hope. We want to thank you because we know it was your dream too. And we know that your heart is broken. I know you have some comfort from the letter from the President of the United States and Nelson Mandela, but this was your child. This was your brother. This was your cousin. Nothing will fill your heart's loss. But I hope the love that people are showing will make you know he didn't live in vain. And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with. But he dealt with it. He dealt with it anyway. He dealt with it for us. So some came today, Mrs. Jackson, to say goodbye to Michael. I came to say thank you. Thank you because you never stopped. Thank you because you never gave up. Thank you because you never gave out. Thank you because you tore down our divisions. Thank you because you eradicated barriers. Thank you because you gave us hope. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
You live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Let me tell you, a lot is going on. We've seen in the last 3 days the Supreme Court in Alabama said they will not let them interfere with the voting districts. They were based on race. The Attorney General of Alabama is appealing to the Supreme Court. We see that in Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, they are still aggressively trying to change the voting districts. That is a clear sign that they fear they will lose the House of Representatives and possibly the Senate in this November's midterm. it has been widely said that the more moderate Republicans will not vote in Texas, I'm speaking of, will not vote for Paxton because his ethical problems, criminal accusations, and by his own wife. You know I'm going to deal with all of them. ICE agents having a violent standoff in Newark. Akeem Smith is sending. There was a violent standoff between ICE agents and protesters in Newark last night. I saw the footage, and Reverend Bartley's been informing us. All of that will be on my show this weekend with some of the people in the thick of it. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. I'll be there, especially this Saturday and Sunday with all of this going on. We really, really need the clarity. So make sure you watch it and tell all your friends, tell everybody that may not take time to listen to the radio program. Get your information on the weekends from Reverend Al, 5 o'clock on MS Now. You that are in the New York area, that's Connecticut, that's New Jersey, that's New York, that's Long Island, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally. We're at the Mother AME Zion Church, which is a historic church, Frederick Douglass's church. Used to attend there. Sojourner Truth changed her name from a slave name to Sojourner Truth at that altar. Madam C.J. Walker's funeral was at that church. And we've been there last couple of months as we prepare to move into our new headquarters. I went up day before yesterday. It's coming along very well. We're just getting all of the certificates of occupancy straight, and we're about 2 weeks out from moving our Saturday rallies to our permanent home. Make sure you that are in the area can come meet us at Mother AME Zion. That's at 137th Street and Lenox Avenue in Harlem. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, live stream at National Action Network, AME Zion Church Network, or you can go to YouTube/NAN. Don't miss a Saturday rally. All right, let me go back to the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Let's talk to Rick in Germany. Rick.
Good day, Brother Sharpton.
Good day.
I'd just like to add a comment to your earlier comment about Trump and his administration desiring to take America back to the 1950s. I disagree, but only a little bit. I think he wants to take America back, and not just him, but the wealthy that puppeteer him, and the wealthy that stand beside him, the wealthy that travel with him. I think they want to take America back to the 1910s, 20s, just before the 1930s, when there was the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the wealthy were in quite some control of America. I think that we still have the vote, even though the protections against things like gerrymandering have been overturned by the Supreme Court, the U.S. Federal Supreme Court. We still have the right to vote. And I think if we come out in numbers continually, not just this time, all votes are important. If we come out and vote, we can wrest power away not only from Donald Trump, but from the wealthy that intend to never pay their share of taxes or allow America to become a more socialist, capitalist hybrid. Brother man, I'm done.
All right, and I like that how you wrapped it up, hybrid, because I think that it is absolutely their attempt, and I think that is fine, and I think that it is extremely important that we deal with this and deal with it in an aggressive way. I see Bruce Turner says, I want Democrats to stop talking about impeachment. We know that's on the list, but the John Lewis bill is more important. All right, Bruce, I agree. You don't have the majority to impeach him anyway. Let's deal with this Voting Rights Act. And I think that is very, very important. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Pamela Gordon is on the message board saying, good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton and the Nan family. And, we got a couple of hundred people watch the show live as I'm doing it. And I think that, one of the things that really is baffling is how some people just bathe in ignorance. Just bathe in ignorance. And they do not want good information. They do not want to be corrected. They want to take a position and hold it and not be corrected or challenged at all. And I've learned that, we try to help and correct who we can, but I've learned some folks, you just have to let them be. I had a cousin like that, and I finally just said, you know what? Ignorance is bliss, so you must be a happy person. Because he just wallowed in ignorance. And this is what you're hearing from a lot of these MAGA people and these trollers. And I guess that's part of the test of our commitment to make sure that we take the same shots that they always gave against freedom fighters. All right, let me go to Ray in Cincinnati, the Buzz. Ray?
Yes, sir, Rev. Thanks for taking my call. Rev, couple things. I don't know if you saw yesterday. Actually, it could have been the day before. I was watching Nicole Wallace and the butt kissing Trump had in this cabinet meeting where everybody was praising him for a job well done, knowing how this country is going underwater. Did you see that?
I saw part of it. Somebody sent me the clip, yes.
Yeah, you got Kelly Loeffler telling him how everybody's telling her he's doing a good job, and she's a billionaire.
Right.
Why are you a billionaire kissing his butt?
Right.
That's what I don't understand. I mean, and Trump just Trump, he you know him well. He's just sitting back eating it up. He is just eating it up. But a couple of things on this. You got John Cornyn. As much as he talked about how bad his opponent was, now he's going to support him. These Republicans have no spine. And once they leave office, and a lot of them are going to leave when this midterm comes along. Who's going to hire them? They lie about the economy. What company is going to hire these people, knowing that they're going to sit back and lie like that? And I can't wait until a lot of them go in front of Congress and explain themselves. When it comes to E. Jean Carroll, everybody knows this is payback. And I'm sure, I think I was watching Nicole yesterday, and she was saying, someone was saying that one of her guests, it's not going anywhere. Trump had to pay out about $90 million. It's not going anywhere because these judges know that it's a witch hunt. And thank God for these judges. There's a lot of them that's not backing Trump. So we got a lot to be thankful there. And I don't know, Rev. It's just, and in some cases, I don't even blame Trump. Trump's going to be Trump, and you know it. It's these sycophants that's allowing it to happen, and I don't think we've talked enough about them. Everybody's talking about how bad Trump is, but the people who's letting him get away with it, I don't think they're being put on Front Street as much as they should. But we'll be watching you Saturday and Sunday. You're like the wrap-up. Everything that goes on during the week, you like wrap it up into one big box.
I try my best. Thank you for that. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Shop. Be right back. Keeping it real. I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Shear knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to us, Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number 1. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, You know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustling, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Voting rights. Everyone look here.
Say it again, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
One more time, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now. When do we need it?
Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
All right. We need some room. All right, hold on. Michael Jackson is the highest selling artist of all time. No one has sold more records in the history of the planet than Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson said to us, he did not want to just raise the issue of what's happening with him. He said that artists all over the world
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
to stand up and
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go right back to the phone. Let's go down WAOK, Atlanta, Georgia. Let's talk to Ron in Atlanta. Ron?
Big ups to you, Big Reverend. Thank you so much for being such a voice in the movement today.
Thank you.
And when I think of James Brown as one of the outstanding greatest entertainer of all times, and I know you have an effect and a connection with him that he saw in you, right. And I'm glad he saw you and was able to get you in the movement at a level where we can talk to, and you can talk to us nationally. But one thing that changed between James Brown and Bobby, and it was, and I recently understood it came from Bobby first. The question is, what we gonna do now? And it came back was, I don't know. But whatever it is, it's got to be
funky. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that. I heard that at midnight, and it did. It started with Bobby Bird, and that was the kickoff to the song "Make It Funky." You're right. And,
yeah, man, and
I think you're right. We can apply it to where we are now in this socio-political environment. That I don't know what we're gonna do now. But Ron, whatever it is, it's got to be funky. You're right. And I say that in jest, but I also say that we cannot be quiet and still while they're trying to take everything from us. So we got to funk it up a little.
Yeah. And Doc, when I look at and hear voices of Harlem, it's not Harlem no more.
Right.
And when I see the connection in Atlanta and the school closures connection, I mentioned 16, it wasn't 16 schools, but it was, I'm thinking about 6. But anyway, there's a decrease in school population in African-American communities because African-American communities is being gentrified.
That's right.
And I don't think that we got to look at, let's put it like this. I don't think we should not be blind or indifferent to the impact of how we are coming together. If we're coming together by there's a closure, impact of closure of schools. If we're coming together and it's a detour from the things that we were addressing, like the history and the education and the curriculum in our schools, then we're being pushed out of the concerns of our voices. Where we wanted Black history, we wanted curriculum change, we wanted safe communities that don't have to just be transitioned by being gentrified, by being safe. We had the history in the Nation of Islam where mannerism and security was important, where we could have and should have found some kind of way to for the government to help finance that without corrupting or trying to change the stimulating impact of Black pride that the Nation of Islam was one of the people. I can see it now where the Muhammad Speaks newspaper had a hand stretching from America or from the West to Africa. We have given up. When I say given up, gentrification has caused a displacement. And I think that maybe, I want to ask you, Reverend, I'm going to get off the phone. How do we address the people or the gentrification of advantages that's going on in our community? Because it's advantage by people who's coming in, because but what is the impact, and how about the conscious reflection upon those who are coming in to what kind of impact that they having? What I see in Atlanta is displacement, is a greater investment in shelters, is people sleeping out and being exposed to the fact that they don't have no home, and black ownership is going down. So I think that, Reverend, we're going to have some kind of better response to how our community is changing, and seeing that gentrification is going to have an impact on the closure of schools, and really the races coming together or issues that are being addressed. Because Harlem is not Harlem no more, and Southwest Atlanta, and gentrification and integration period on this last note, that we're not being better citizens and getting to know each other. One is being outpriced, and because of gentrification and all that. What say you, Rev?
Rev?
I'm reading a long, intriguing letter from a state legislature. I don't know whether or not he's authorized me to read his name, but he's saying that what they're switching in his particular state, he's in the Midwest, is they want to take the voter rolls and the mail-in ballots, which is what they just announced this morning, and so they can then tie people up, falsely accuse them of being illegal immigrants, or saying they're not at the address they say, any kind of technicality to try and tamp down our vote. And I think that this, it sounds like a conspiracy, but it's happening. And that is why, when I started a couple of weeks ago talking about coming out of NAN convention, we formed brigades in our various chapters to go get people to vote and to stand outside. So if ICE and them is there, you're not there to fight. You're there to photograph and encourage people, go on and fight. Go on and vote. We got to be on the ground. We have to.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ron.
Yeah, and being on the ground, Reb, I'm going to put a little rhyme on it. We need to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're looking at cities being shaken and schools, and I mean, we're seeing population that having a direct impact as far as white folks moving in black communities, or black folks not able, and the prices are going up on houses and what have you. But it does not keep the family schools or the neighborhood schools in from elementary to high school functioning, because, Reverend, I don't know of any place where we have seen where white folks are comfortable as far as being a minority in black populations. My father came here from upstate New York, and we came into, maybe we just missed it by a year or two, where black folks was a minority. We know how to be a minority in a white school system, but they don't know how. And the only way they basically deal with is that they don't have children to come into the school systems, and then they maybe start coming in and getting it. But black folks are pushed out economically, job. It's just so much. Gentrification, I think, has lost its consciousness, if it ever had, but it should have a racial sensitivity and realize that when they be on a negative impact. Thank you for your program, Doc, and your voice is so large today.
Well, I think that this is, this is the kind of information. Thank you for your call, Ron. This is the kind of information that we really need, because unless we confront the real policies and legal changes and get on the ground, like Ron is saying, on the ground and in our homes, they're going to get away with this. New Mexico, John McKinney saying on our message board, poverty's on the rise in my city exactly like he just described. Blacks, whites, and Hispanic. I got homeless out the wazoo. Wow. And this is in Albuquerque, I believe John is writing from. And that's going to be one of the cities we got to get into, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it is absolutely scary what they're doing. And it is clear that we can't let it go. Let's go to Wale in Manhattan, New York. Wale.
Let's go take our break.
Wait a minute, let me take our break. We'll be right back and go to Wale after the break. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back.
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, NASDAQ Network. He just came in here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice, so I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I lived. I was there.
You true to this?
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Walter Phone Troy,
he was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist.
Okay. Wow.
Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be an educator, is here. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. We thank for Maxine Waters. You see the Reverend Al Sharpton is here. We thank
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We want to go with gold. Yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, so that's and we
Alexander Shelton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's what, exactly. That was, exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
To South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And where I knew Jesse was from James, I started Brother.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came to me in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 40, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But,
Voting rights. Everyone look here.
Say it again, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
One more time, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it? Now.
Yesterday.
What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now.
you live, sir.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go right back to the phone. Let's go to Wale in Manhattan. Wale.
Thank you for taking my call, Reverend. So I'm gonna spell this gentleman's name. It's Sheena, last name Austin, Austin. He has a piece on YouTube called $1 million View. Listen to what Dr. Claude Anderson has to tell black people. He wrote this in November 5th, 2025, and it talks about the civil rights movement, but it's an excellent piece. And I just want you to listen to it. The other thing I wanted to say is I think what would be really nice, because you have a lot of shows, right? You have what's the one, CNN Now?
No, MS Now.
MS Now. What's the other one? Well, Keeping It Real. Those two, right? Keeping It Real.
I do the television is MS Now. Keeping It Real is this show, and Sunday is Sunday Hour Power.
Right, Hour Power. I forgot about that one. I listened to that one too. Okay. So what am I saying? So really your show is really the only outlet, black outlet, that keeps us informed about politics. You actually you're like the conduit. You're like that artery, because now y'all got there's chapters all in Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, all these places, and y'all are moving the dial through this program, Keeping It Real, because a lot of blacks, I believe, they just don't vote because they really don't think, you see cops still cracking us upside the head, getting away with it and all this kind of thing. But like you said, if we all just threw in the towel, then we can't get nowhere. So we got to keep up. We don't have a lot of programs really to follow, because I listen to the radio sometimes. Sometimes I listen to the music on 101.1 because it's soothing, it's mild, it's that 70s sweet sound, whereas sometimes the other one, I won't say what it is, because your homie is over there. But a lot of that music is the hip-hop and all that wilding out and all this kind of thing. I don't have time to listen to that. My nerves can't take it. But the thing I think what I would love to say is I would love one day for your rally to be, because we hear politics every day. We go over the latest with Trump. We talk about Trump and as we should, because he has done a lot. He has eliminated. The more I listen and watch the programs, he got rid of that chief, that black guy, and all these blacks he got rid of, and 300,000 black women he fired from these municipal jobs, and all this kind of thing, which I wonder, did any of them sue? But that's not, you can answer that maybe later when I finish. Did anybody try to sue Trump? Because from what I understand, to get fired from a job, right, this is your show. I'm going to tell you what to do, right? I'm sorry. How can somebody fire somebody without probable cause? You got to have a reason to fire somebody. So hopefully them people took his butt to court and sued him, because you can't just fire somebody for no reason. That's the other thing. But what I would like to see at your rally, I know a lot of people are not Pentecostals, so they're not used to having testimony service. They're not used to shouting and running through the church. I got all of that. But what I would love to see, Reverend Sharpton, is you devote a service one day where you preach. You don't call in somebody to come in to preach. Since you are a reverend, you do the preaching, you open up for testimony, you have songs. Just one day at Mother AME, if you can carry out that kind of service, that would be fabulous. I know you're getting ready to move to your new place. I got that part. But it would be nice if you can maybe use the last service there at Mother AME to conduct that type. You do the preaching, we have people testify, songs, and just make church out of that service. Have real church in that service and leave the politics for later on. You think you could do something like that maybe?
I know I could do it. Let me see if we can do it. But I preach every Sunday somebody's church. I never stop preaching. And I think it's a great idea. Let me see how we schedule it out. If we've already booked preachers, because what she's referring to, and thank you for your call, Wale, is
You're welcome.
that every Saturday, first hour we have singing, and then we let people in the audience. We have a segment called "What's on Your Mind," and we let people speak right on our live stream, whatever they've got to say without our prompting it. And then we have an inspirational preacher who does about 10 minutes, and then we go into 10 to 11, and that's when I come out and speak and lay out the political agenda and do a little ending with biblical reference. We may do that, Wale. I take you very seriously. We're joined, as we are every Thursday for the last 90 minutes of this show, with the CEO of the Protestant Welfare Agencies in New York and the Vice Chairman of the National Board of National Action Network, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Attorney Austin?
I am good, sir. I'm good, and I like Wale's idea.
Yeah, I do
I think
too.
that's a great idea.
I like that
Yeah,
too.
I'm there.
I'm gonna make sure we haven't booked nobody. We'll try to do that. And she said it with
I
the
like
right
that.
person listening, because you're the one negotiating when we move in, and we're trying to get in by
That's
next.
right.
We're trying to get in by next week, and that you've been
Yeah.
diligent on this, and it looks like we may get
Excellent.
there. Let
It's good
me
stuff.
so much
Really good.
so much we need to talk about in terms of policy. Now let me start with this. News broke yesterday. The Alabama Supreme Court upheld the 2 black majority districts in Alabama, and the Attorney General of the state of Alabama said they're going to appeal. Does this mean that they can go to the same Supreme Court, national, and that they overturn the local state Supreme Court in Alabama?
Absolutely. So remember, what happened when the Supreme Court acted last month was essentially they said you cannot have that the law does not allow for you to be, how do I best say this? I'm trying to put it in very plain speak. Kind of think that the changes in redistricting could impact black people unfairly. You have to be able to show that there's intentional discrimination that isn't taking place. And so what happened was a panel of federal judges in Alabama looked at the map that had been drawn and said, oh, this is clearly intentional discrimination, trying to take away the vote from black residents. And so they said to Alabama, you can't move forward with this map that is going to harm black Americans in the state of Alabama. And what the Republican Attorney General is now doing is appealing the injunction that prevented Alabama from moving forward with these new maps. And with the appealing of it, because it's at the federal level, it will start moving up, and ultimately it will make its way to the United States Supreme Court. Now, the beauty of this, and this is what is going to have to happen time after time after time, we're going to have challenges to what the states are doing to be able to show the discrimination to ultimately get to a place where the United States Supreme Court has to hear these cases and knock them down. Now, the concern is you never really know how this is going to go, but the only way to challenge these state actions at this particular point that are intended to take away the black vote is to bring them all the way back to the United States Supreme Court. And in doing so, ultimately, we're going to get some more laws.
Yeah, I think that that's a good strategy. I think that the other part of that, let me take the break and go on the other side. I'm taking your calls. It's Policy Day on Keeping It Real. Shopton, Jones Austin, be right back.
Rev, you know, you were right there.
From the beginning.
The stuff that was going on in Brooklyn at that time, at Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene yourself
Yep.
Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair.
Yeah, you had the head on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut, so we went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK. Hello, New Orleans. Let me tell you straight. They did not think we could come and be here tonight. They cut budgets and advertising, but one black man, Rich Newton, said, I don't care. My families come together every 4th of July weekend, and Essence will happen, because that's who we are. Give a big hand to Rich New Dennis for bringing us back. Why do we come? Because the essence of who we are is essential to what made this nation. We built this nation. We made this nation. We created the essential dollars that this nation lives off of. We don't care what bill they pass. We will not back up. We will not back down. We will not give in. We will not be chased out. We don't care who's in the White House. We will organize our house by house. We came over the Middle Passage. We survived slavery. We survived Jim Crow. Don't you give up now. Don't you turn back now. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. Reclaim your dignity. Reclaim your place. So we stand with the Global Black Economic Forum. We stand with Essence Magazine because that's who we are. So don't give in now. Yes, it's some rough days, but we've been through rougher days than this. Yes, Trump is a bad dude, but we beat badder dudes than Trump. So let's party with a purpose, because our rhythm and our music reminds us who we are, because we can smile through our pain and organize for our gain. Let's stand up and let's celebrate who we are. Thank you, God bless you.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Dice! What's up, Doc? So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive. Yes, sir. There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength, we had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Now, Jenny, we went through in the first segment, since you've been on, about the court in Alabama said that the 2 district must remain, and now it can be appealed up to the Supreme Court, which is not likely to stand with the local state court, because they were the ones that changed the Voting Rights Act in the first place. Does that same thing apply to South Carolina? I said South Africa, South Carolina, where there was the vote to redistrict Jim Clyburn's district, the only black majority district in the state, and only Democratic district in the state, and the Republicans helped vote it down. Could that also be brought to the Supreme Court, or the fact that it never became law or it never was something that the state legislation process had to go through, they would have a hard problem getting standing for a Supreme Court?
And take a little while for that to get through, because what happened there, to maybe ultimately make its way up, what is happening there right now is that the vote to actually go forward with the redrawing of the maps and having them stand didn't go through, because you had Republicans who pulled back. Now, the interesting thing here is that when I first heard that, I was like, oh, are some Republicans understanding that this is just wrong? Wrong. You can't get any more wrong. They're just concerned that the way that the maps are redrawn, that it could actually result in more Democrat voters getting into some of the districts that are already Republican, and maybe flipping that. Right. What could happen there is if they push too hard, then the state ultimately, it works its way up. You get to the U.S. Supreme Court either because you're already in federal court or because you're in state court, and you go to the highest level in state Supreme Court, and then it can go up to the federal level because it has implications. So they both can make their way up there. But right now, Clyburn he's safe right now, and those maps aren't going through because they didn't do the final vote on them.
The objective everywhere is to bring down our voting power.
Yeah.
And that's why anybody that tells you vote no matter, or that voting doesn't mean nothing, they are either working for the opposition or ignorant. My mother said ignorant, not even ignorant, ignorant. let's go to phone. Let me go to Philadelphia to Woody. Woody, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin.
Hey, man, you sound a lot better because that spirit, back to the brain again,
Yeah.
helps out a whole lot.
Yeah, I feel a whole lot better. I had a head cold for 24 hours, Jenny, and it's still a little there, but it's much better than yesterday. I think on that flight back from Atlanta, they had the air right on me, so I think that did it, but I don't know.
Yeah, the deep
I
part
can hear it a little bit.
the deep part, Reverend, is that your immune system, that's given to you by God. I only gave you the assistant, which was the alfalfa. You can take it in tea form, you can take it in tablet form, and that's going to help you tremendously. But I just love your program, man, and all the brothers that come through here. I think we need a Reading Rights Act. 52% can't read at third grade level. If you can't read, you can't know who you're voting for. That to me is a crime. And if we could put together something that's a Reading Rights Act, I do it every day in here, sharing with these brothers. I write in an all-white magazine, and I write in the Philadelphia Tribune, which is a black newspaper. So I'm trying to communicate with the human race, because if we don't look at that from that perspective, then you don't see the wrong. You keep pointing at races when there's only one race called human with many cultures and ethnicities, one color called melanin with many shades. But we don't see that because everybody keeps dividing the human race as if we have more than one. That to me is the crime, and I think it's affecting our schools. This whole gentrification issue, the educational system. When you graduate with a diploma as a receipt for educational services never truly rendered, that's a crime. These are crimes happening to keep black people down, and it's nothing really new, but it's going on as we speak. My whole neighborhood only got one black person left in my block, and that's my brother. And I'm so glad he's there. I don't know what to do, but it's happening, and psychologically, mentally, we could take this to behavioral health all over the country if we could do it through the NAACP or your organization. This is mentally and emotionally affecting our health, and I think we should point in that direction, behavioral health.
All right. Well, thank you for your call. I think certainly we need to protect the voting rights. I think we need to get the John Lewis bill through. I think we definitely need to deal with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And I think he's right. We need legislation on education. The problem you have is we've got to vote and take the Senate and the House back, or we're not getting any of that. I mean, we just need to be real.
Absolutely.
That is going to require us getting the majority again. Now, let me be real clear. I think that we can absolutely say that we're going to have to fight and put pressure on the Democrats. And we do. And we have to. But we got some things done with them. We've got nothing done with the Trumpsters. I won't even call them Republicans. And because don't forget, George Bush even re-signed the Voting Rights Act. But I think that it is a very clear thing that this crowd has appealed to their voters that we ain't giving black folks nothing. That's how they winning. And they went and told that this is as old as this country. That, you're not doing good. Yeah, I know, you live in a trailer home. Yeah, you ain't got much education, but at least you ain't black. That's how they went. That was the cycle.
That's right.
And they are winning with that. And we've got to bring out more about. I don't know if we can ever turn a lot of white hatred around. It'll have to age out. But I know there's enough of us to make the real difference, Jenny.
I think you're spot on, sir. And I'm just going to add that I remember when I was coming up that there was also a pitting of black people against people of Hispanic origin.
Right.
You know, like, was it better in New York City? Was it better to be black or better to be Puerto Rican? And I think that one of the things, the strategies that we've got to employ is we got to figure out how we build a better bridge with people of Hispanic origin, Hispanic descent, because they shouldn't be thinking that they are immune. I mean, one of the reasons that they changed the census. Remember, like if you were Hispanic, it used to be a race. Now you Hispanic white, you Hispanic non-white.
Right.
And that was when they started seeing the numbers changing and getting concerned that the, quote, minority would become the majority. So let's make more Hispanic people believe that they are not a race and make them more white so that you can have them aligned. We need to start doing more to help people of Hispanic origin understand that what's happening to us right now with this redistricting and the black vote, they will, if they cannot keep Hispanic people majority Republican, have them vote Republican, they will draw lines against them too if they're voting. This is an all-out battle to keep white people in power in positions of authority. And so it is like where people who are not white need to figure out how to join. And there are some white people who will join with us, but we've got to band together. And if they can do what they're doing right now, the overall aim, sir, is to essentially weaken federal authority overall, because if America becomes more black and brown, they want to play these fights out at the state level. So diminish the strength of the federal government, the Congress, as much as you can, and play these fights out at the state level and take us back to the Confederate versus the Union days, where states are battling against each other or just sitting on their own.
You're right. You're right. Tricia at 1989 on the message board is saying, nope, there's no aging out hate. They are passing it down. Look at Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk's ages. You're right. You're absolutely right, Tricia.
Yeah.
I said maybe it age out. No, every generation they pass it down. And that is also why, and I dealt with this earlier in the show today before you came on, Jenny, we got to get out of all this divisiveness, young, old, because you got young racists just like you got old racists, and you got young Uncle Tom just like you got old Uncle Tom. Just because you 20 don't mean that you woke, and just because you're 80 don't mean that you backwards. So, they play all of these games intentionally, and we've got to be smarter than that.
We got to be so much smarter than that because, look, it's all of the othering. So, the way that this country was founded, they othered Native Americans and made you believe, wanted people to believe Native Americans were less than. They even had Native Americans telling them, if you want to hold on to any of your property, maybe we'll let you hold on to some, but you got to assimilate to be more like us. What did they do? They had Native Americans in some places owning people of African descent, enslaving Africans to be more like them. And so this is what this country does. Irish people and Italian people in the early 1900s were being discriminated against. And then when they realized they didn't have enough jobs for everybody, when black people now had to be hired too, they started making black people, criminalizing us in the eyes of Irish and Italian persons who had come over here and said, you're more like us than you are like them. So this country engages in othering in ethnicity and nationality. We see it now with immigration. They do it with age. Anything and everything to pit people against each other, so you're never really looking at who's the real culprit. And you uphold white supremacist thought.
Absolutely. And it is a plan. They did not build this country off of free labor, enslaved, and built it to be the wealthiest nation on earth by accident. This is a plan.
That's right.
And we've got to stick to our counter plan. It has worked in some areas. We're not where we were. I think it was Dr. King that said, we are not where we want to be. We're not where we going to be. But thank God we are not where we was. And whatever it took for us to get this far, we need to keep doing that. Let's take a break. Be right back. Shopton, Jones, Austin. Be right back. Keep it real.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But the people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. With the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic
I
as
am
them,
your
but
host,
figures that have nothing.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host, as she is every Thursday on Policy Day. Jenny, also one more thing I want you to unpack for our audience is the whole idea of the disruption of the cycles. You're supposed to do districts every 10 years along with the census. Now are they not only blatantly trying to get rid of black districts, they're playing with the calendar where if we're not careful, they will be calling things like this at whatever time they want, and there'll be no rhyme or reason to protecting us.
So what happens, what has been the law, is that every 10 years, the census is performed. Everybody's familiar with the census where they do a counting, and it goes essentially block by block to count how many people live on a certain street, in a certain neighborhood, in a certain city and state. And they use that count to then determine your representation for Congress. How many of the 435 seats should be distributed to your particular area? With that,
they also
after
just
the
let me put an addendum there. They also determine the districts for your local seats, like your city council.
That's exactly right.
Your board of examiners or aldermen, whatever it's called. All of that has boundaries, has voting areas that is determined by that. Go ahead, by the census.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that, and they get that number, and then what happens is they will begin to they have permission to redraw the districts, because you can have, like, let's say in New York City, where we see buildings going up constantly now. And so you might have had an area where it was pretty desolate, or there were just, houses, like one-family houses, and now they've been torn down, and you have buildings going up, and you've got, instead of 5 people living in a house or 7 people living in a house, you could easily have, 100 people in that same place if they went building up, right? If there was land and they built up. So you have to redraw the maps because of the numbers of people. That's done every 10 years after the census count. What they're doing right now is mid-decade, as they call it, mid-decade redistricting. They're going in with no basis. It's not based on the number of people in a particular area. It's not based on what the census is telling them, and trying to change rules so that they realize of black people to have their votes mean something, make a difference. They are engaging in partisan politics.
You're breaking up.
Race. They're not in partisan politics, but race politics. And what they are trying to do is minimize. If you have a saturation of black people in a particular area, what they're trying to do is to minimize the effectiveness of your vote. And, sir, something we don't often talk about is that what we have seen with rising costs of living, especially in urban environments and Northeast, we see a lot of black people who are engaging in what we call reverse migration. Black people came up, to the Northeast looking for jobs and opportunities. They went Midwest. Now they're returning to the South.
Right.
For opportunity. And so when this redistricting is playing out in Alabama, playing out in Tennessee, playing out in South Carolina, and in Texas, what they're doing is they know more and more black people are coming down. So it's further diminishing and diluting our voting power when they engage in this mid-decade redistricting.
All right. Let me go to the phones. I see Stanley in Alabama. Stanley, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
I'm here, Reverend Sharpton. I'm in Tuskegee, Alabama, as a matter of fact.
All right.
I think a good friend of yours, Brother Lafayette, was a good friend of yours. He passed not too long ago.
Yeah, Bernard Lafayette was a great man.
Man, he was a mentor to everyone. A great man. Huge loss for the community and the country. But one of the things in this Allen had pointed out were the reasons that Alabama was fortunate this time around was that they were using a map that had already been struck down by the Supreme Court as being unjust. That was our saving grace this time, but we have to get on top of everything now, and that's all over. Because these people are for real. They're trying to restrict our rights on every level. I'm 66, and the thing that gets me, I said and I thought about it. How is it that I'm going to have more rights than my parents
Right.
and my children? And my children.
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense. You know, in the 250 years of this country, we've gone back 50 years since 1976.
Right.
We've gone back.
Right.
So
And right on your point, Stanley, is what I'm saying is that if you and I and Attorney Austin have more rights than our parents had, and what our children will have, then why are we not studying what our parents did to get those rights, rather than them play this game about, I saw a guy sent me a tape. I don't watch a lot of these people, and a guy got on Stanley and said somewhere about the old guard needs to sit down and let the young guard take over. And I said, but the guy talking is in his mid-50s. He ain't no young guy. I mean, this whole foolishness. We need to learn from the old, update it and contemporize it, and move on. But we divide ourselves. And the thing that gets me is Stephen Miller, who's in his 30s and who's the brain thrust behind Project 2025. And all of these young guys, like somebody mentioned Kirk on the message board, young guys, they took a 79-year-old man. Trump will be 80 years old next month. And use them. You use old and young. It's about your plan. It's about your agenda. Don't play that divide and conquer stuff. I can't hear him raise his voice.
I said I was very, very fortunate to have people in my community, like Dr. Lafayette, but another person, Amelia Boyne Robinson, was someone who we looked up to. And she used to say, we woke up the civil rights movement. It was our job. It was our duty. We worked to have funds for our food and to sustain. She said, but our job was fighting for these rights.
That's right.
And that's what has to be our job again. We got to get back on it. And like you said, this separation that's part of old Willie Lynch creeping in, separating the old from the young and all the dark and the light and all that. A lot of people don't even realize what that is about, but it's creeping in. But that's where we need to be right now.
No, you're right. Well, thank you for your call.
We got to get together.
Thank you for your call. And I'm a result of that, Stanley, because Jennifer Jones Austin's daddy, Reverend William Jones, he took me in. I was already a boy preacher, but he took me in Operation Breadbasket when I was 12, and he and Jesse Jackson appointed me when I was 13. They weren't playing old against young. They were giving young people a chance. The problem, Jenny, is we don't have enough old and young people that want to do this work. Now, we got plenty that want to take a bow and get on social media and look big. But to do the hard work, you don't have a lot of them. Let's go to Renee in Michigan. Renee, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin.
Hello, Reverend L. Hello, Attorney Austin.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, I have a plan how you can win 3 states. That the 2 of them are doing this redistricting mess. Okay, now they're trying to keep these people from coming in the country. Now, I listened to the Jamaican radio this morning. Jamaica has stopped processing their green cards. Either there's something wrong with the processing or they're trying to speed it up or something, but they're not at the moment. The lawyer said they're not processing anything. Trump said, well, if you don't have a green card and you still in here in America, say for a Jamaican or wherever they from, you got to go back to the country where you from. The lawyer said, well, that won't make sense because the Jamaicans can't get a green card in Jamaica either. So they're caught. So where most of the Caribbean people live, there's 3 states that I know that I've been to. Virginia, near the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area, because a lot of them live in Washington, D.C., and some of them live in Northern Virginia. Mind you, not the person that's the green card can't vote, but there's family, friends, whatever, that like this person. This other state is Florida. That's a big one. All Miami, all that eastern coast, all you see is people from most of those places. Or if they're working like at the cruises and stuff, they're American citizens. And then Georgia, all Atlanta. I used to live in Atlanta. That's like half the place. People from all these other Caribbean and Africa, everything lives there. So like I say, they may not can vote, most of them, unless they already a citizen, but family, friends, neighbors, they real friendly, a lot of them. And, and people like them and don't want to see them deported and go back. If you could have your chapters and people that like some of these Congress people that's down there and the Black Caucus or whatever, to go down there and, vote like you voting. You got to treat this like it's time for Obama again and Kamala Harris's election. So basically, if you keep that in mind, that you get 3 right there easily, because you just got the Indian guy there in New York, but I know New York's a little different place than those other places because they're southern states and everything. But Virginia can flip, Florida with that governor, and he's trying to switch up everything. In Atlanta, they took the voter records. I don't know what he's going to do with them because people register to vote every day or they die and drop off. So it won't make sense taking those to me. They move away. So you have a chance with those 3. Here in Michigan, he got a guy called Perry Johnson. He's like 47. And I said, so you're going to be double Trump. John James and then Mike Cox. So they caught Mike Cox living down in Florida. That's on the Republican side. And then we have the Secretary of State running and couple other people that's Chris Swanson, and he's at top, and then there's this lady I just saw in the bell, I'm not sure who she is, named Kim Thomas. That's the Democratic side. So I'm not going to have double Trump here, nor John James. John James doesn't even like women. I mean, he likes women, but he's think, they should be wives and mothers and follow their husbands. He say things like that, and no abortion at no time, and he black man saying that. So that's what we have here in Michigan. But if you focus on those 3 states, Virginia, Florida, and Georgia, and get all those friends and relatives of those people that come from those other countries in the Caribbean and Africa, even the Arab people, the Muslim countries, get them out and vote. And that's what you did in New York to get the mayor that you have now, that same strategy. And that's my opinion.
All right, that's a good strategy. Let's take a break on that one.
Okay.
I like thoughtful people when they call in. That's good. That's good. Everybody thinking is something that we need. Let's take a break. Shopton, Jones Austin. We'll be right back. Policy Day, y'all.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses. Good to see you, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Shaw. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have slavery.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And where I knew Jesse was from James. I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about it in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came to me in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped me push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told him, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there. And act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time, Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. But Reverend, it looks bad now. Look at Iran. Look at what's going on in Minnesota. Look on. Yeah, but I was raised by them to realize that after storms, if we do the right thing in the storm, if we organize, if we register, if we do what we're supposed to do, there's always a rainbow coming out. The rainbow don't show until the storm is over. The rainbow gonna come out in November. The rainbow gonna come out in 28. We're gonna fix these tricks in 26 and march through the gates in 28. We didn't come this far to turn around now. We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back.
We need some room. All right, hold on. Michael Jackson is the highest selling artist of all time. No one has sold more records in the history of the planet than Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson said to us, he did not want to just raise the issue of what's happening with him. He said that artists all over the world need people to stand up and protect their rights. And he said, Reverend, if we're going to stand up, if it's for all artists, I'm there. As you know, there's a big rally. His fan club is doing this afternoon. But he said, I'm coming to Harlem this morning to meet with community leaders because we want justice in the music industry for all artists. Now there'll be some that say, oh, Michael, are you doing this only because of your situation? Michael came to Harlem 2 months ago for the DNC. Now he comes for his own peers because we discussed it. Kathy and I talked about how we watched James Brown struggle, Little Richard struggle. We've seen artists, black and white and Latino struggle. Somewhere this has to stop.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Don't forget, I've been working the phones. I'm going to have them, what did they say, loaded and locked on Saturday and Sunday for Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, with the issues that now are front burner issues about redistricting. What did and did not happen in Alabama and how they can overturn it. I'm going to have people on from Alabama at the highest level, as well as Mississippi, as well as Louisiana, as well as Georgia. Certainly Georgia is a battle state with Keisha Lance Bottoms, now a black woman, second black woman to run for governor. I'm going to deal with all that. I'm going to deal with how there is economic impact on blacks more than others in this whole Iran war, gasoline prices. You just need to watch it. I have a couple of cultural surprises. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I tell the story, Jenny, that's why I always say 5 Eastern Time, because a man stopped me one day. I was going to through the Houston airport, and I was going down to preach for Reverend Ralph West, who's on our national board that you're the vice chair. And the guy stopped and said, Reverend Al, they just won't quit messing with us. I said, really? I said, yeah. He said, I turned on my TV 5 o'clock and you wasn't on. I said, because you're on Central Time. We're on 4 o'clock here. So that's why I stress 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Central Time, and it's what would be 2 o'clock Pacific Time. So make sure you watch it. You that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, make sure you come to the Saturday Action Rally. We are building up these brigades. We're building up our membership. We're building up people ready to go. And we're about 1 to 2 weeks away from moving to our headquarters. I inspected it day before yesterday. The work inside wasn't a lot of structural work. Just had to redo some inside, the auditorium, the overflow room, the room for theater, and all our offices. And we're about ready. And I must say publicly again, Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin has led the fight around our being able to finance this. And a lot of people have already sent, and I asked for 100,000 people, Jenny, send $500 or what they could. A lot of people have responded. And every Saturday, people have come and respond so we can just pay off the lenders and keep it moving. But we need a place. With gentrification going on, we send a real signal with Nan buying that building right there in Harlem. And I hope it's a model to show other organizations. Let's go in our community and build. All right, let's go to the phones, Jenny. Let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. Brian?
Hey, Rev.
Hey.
First, can you imagine, Rev, if Dr. King or Malcolm X had started a call-in radio show? There'd be entire departments of academia and think tanks dedicated to such a canon of priceless content, and that's precisely what this service is, Rev. Anybody who knows about the existence of Keeping It Real, who has the same access to this phone number that those of us brave enough to call it have, but who never calls that number, is wasting one of the most sacred opportunities afforded we mere mortals in this terrifying century. And that's why I am once again honored to be here with you and Attorney Austin. Rev, after reflecting on your 15-minute
well,
conversation...
just let me say that I'm a mere mortal.
Rev.
I'm a mere mortal. I guess you're referring to Miss Austin, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Miss Austin is, yeah.
She's superwoman.
Almost like too perfect as a person. But anyway.
Y'all are funny.
You are. And I'm going to cry. All right, I'm going to stop. Rev, after reflecting on your 15-minute conversation with that Oklahoma white woman yesterday, who in my view is wholly undeserving of your time, I have realized something. So many politicians and public figures these days go on podcasts and interview live streams. And oftentimes the line is, hey, I'm just there to share my message. I don't endorse everything the host says. And yet you have said, Rev, many times, that if somebody sits with a person who has said harmful things and they don't challenge them, they risk helping normalize that person and their platform. And as you told me yesterday, if you had known more about who Jennifer Welch is, her trashing of Hakeem Jeffries, her support for candidates like Graham Plattner, Kat Abu-Ghazala, and others who have been hostile to black leadership in the Democratic Party, you would have confronted her about it. But, Rev, the problem is that you don't have all the time in the world to investigate every host, every podcast, every producer, every media personality before you go on their show, and neither do most civil rights leaders or elected officials or activists. And Rev, that is the gap that I want to help fill. I want to build a media accountability briefing service before someone like you or a member of the Congressional Black Caucus or a civil rights leader or a Democratic official goes onto a podcast or show, in my vision of what I want to do in my life, because I think this is so quintessential to protecting a pluralistic democracy, I want to prepare a short briefing that says who the host is, what they've said, who they've promoted, and whether or not they've normalized anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, authoritarian rhetoric, attacks on black democratic leadership, or other harmful narratives. And so, I don't know, Rev. I'm just spitballing ideas here, but like, do you think a service like that
would be the
helpful?
first? I would be the first one to sign up for it, because as I told you yesterday, someone on my staff at Politics Nation asked me to do it because somebody working for her was friends, and I would have normally wanted to vet it through Nan, but Nan with the building and all these chapters in the March of August 28th just is overburdened. I think it would be great for you to do that, and then get other groups to sign in and to help to do what we need to do to finance it. Because we all, as we get closer to the midterm elections and then into 28, we don't need to get tripped up going to the wrong people. We need to know who we're talking to. I think you are absolutely right. I would support that. Let's take a break. Be right back. Evangelist Ramsey said, Rev, DEI week, 122nd week. And there were people there. And I thank you for your service, Evangelist Ramsey. She has a long message, but I have to take the break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back. Keeping it real. Put that back up.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection.
Voting rights. Everyone look here. Say it again, Ms. Pearl. Voting rights. Voting rights. One more time, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
All right.
I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors. But there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
Alone.
All right. And did I say go to this school, to that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you to be ready when the doors open?
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go on the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And Ben 4516, hope I'm saying it right, says Reverend Dr. King did have a radio show on WERD Atlanta, located in the historic SCLC building. I do believe that is true. Now, I didn't live in Atlanta. I was 12, going on 13 when he was killed, but I do believe he had a radio show, and the radio station was in the same building. Sometimes they would drop the mic down to him. Now, I don't know if it was a call-in show, and I do know Reverend Jackson had a show. I don't think he had it 5 days a week and Sunday like I'm doing, but they had radio shows. You are correct. Let me go to Todd. Todd is Policy Day. You're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Hey, Reverend Al Sharpton and Jennifer Jones Austin. So we have the issue in this country that we don't talk about as much as we should, about protecting the United States dollar as a reserve currency worldwide. And if we do not have more policy in place to protect that as an existing fact, then our economy and the functions of our government, which are part of our economy, are going to be significantly weakened. Have the two of you had conversations amongst yourselves and other people about the necessity to maintain the dollar as a reserve currency worldwide? Meaning, for those that don't know, that banks in large scale hold the U.S. dollar inside their coffers in order to protect them from the devastations that come from economies collapsing, in order to advance their own economy in times of prosperity, and for trade, for general trade. Because this could happen. We've been the reserve currency for so long that a lot of people don't believe that it could go away, and the Chinese are gaining on us.
Yeah, well, I can say this, and Jenny can respond for herself. I know that we were engaged, we as National Action Network and myself personally, with conversations around this issue when Joe Biden was president. And there were several meetings at the Treasury where we talked about global economics, global dealings, and specifically about the value of the dollar and how it was being challenged. Janet Yellen and others had that. We obviously have not had conversations with the Trump administration, so I do not know what their plans are there. And I do think you raise a very valid point, because if it is devalued or if the worth of it changes, it will impact us at that statistically are most challenged economically. It will affect us more than anybody in the country.
Quickly.
I agree. But I'll just say that I have not given it as much thought as you've given it, Todd, but I do agree that you're right, and especially when we start looking at, when other economies are struggling and suffering, the U.S. dollar helps them to engage and have a stronger standpoint, a reference point, if you will, and standpoint when it comes to international trade and the like. So it's important. I mean, the challenge, though, is that when inflation rises and our dollar becomes less valuable, that's when we start getting into problems. As long as the dollar's strong, we're good.
Where we've been protected for the last 82 years is that when inflation rises worldwide, it doesn't affect us as much as it affects everybody else. However,
right, no, absolutely. But I'm saying if our inflation rises significantly, that's one of the reasons why we begin to worry about it. I'm not really speaking that internationally. I'm just saying when you have problems at home and your inflation rises, it deflates the value of your dollar, and so you can never get to a point where your dollar is significantly less. But we've maintained the reserve currency status for some time now. One of the contenders, though, is when China continues to grow and grow and grow, it becomes a challenge. It becomes a force to be reckoned with. That's all I'm saying.
The Chinese are doing a better job than we are, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, of making practical business arrangements. And it's because they're putting more energy on making practical business arrangements than we are. It's gaining incentive for the nations they're doing business with to invest more in their dollar. In addition to that, a lot of people don't like to hear this, but we're too invested in the well-being of Israel. Israel is costing this country a significant amount of money that we're not getting back in investment from them in us. I believe that Israel has a right to exist. I believe we should maintain our alliance with Israel to some degree. But you can't be so close to a friend that you'll let a friend make it hard for you to maintain your friendship in a way to protect them. If you're costing me more money than I have to protect you, and then you just keep coming back for it, then we're in this particular case, then you're making it difficult for me to compete worldwide, and neither one of us can maintain our wealth. The Chinese don't have that problem. The Chinese position is there's enough to go around for everybody, and although we want to stay on top, we're not looking to run over anybody that isn't trying to run over us. And
yeah, but I think my response to that though is that I think one, I am one who says let us separate Netanyahu from Israel and Trump from the United States. What we're seeing in Israel now under Netanyahu is to the right of the till of the Hun, and the same thing with Trump. So to be anti-Netanyahu does not make one anti-Israel. And on the other side of that, when you look at the Saudis, when you look at other of the Middle Eastern states, some of them are dealing, yes, with China. For the last 35 years I was going to Africa. China has been there as long as I remember. I went to Rwanda, they were there. Sudan, they were even there in the middle of the tribal wars of last time. China is dealing with trade, and they're going methodically taking chunks of the motherland because it is the rich mineral, the richest minerals continent in the world. And I think that the politics of it, i.e. Trump, has kept us from investing and doing trade with Africa. When they talk about African nations, they talk about aid, not trade. We need trade with our African countries, not aid. We're not asking for a handout. We have resources. You have second biggest oil in the world is right there in Nigeria. We have resources if they're properly used and negotiated, Jenny.
And we're in alignment in our thinking on this then. And people should know that if
that's good news, Todd. That's good news.
Yeah.
If I'm aligned with you, we're aligned.
There's occasions when the two of you are correct and you're in alignment with me. This is one of them. That's good.
Now,
so
you had to mess it up. You had to mess it up. Go ahead.
The point that I'm making is there's not enough of the public that's invested in what's going on with the central banks around the planet Earth.
Right.
Particularly our 12 banks of our Federal Reserve Bank system in this country, so that they know that the necessity for our dollar to stay strong is going to be part of your necessity in order to prosper in your own individual lives.
Right.
And if there's enough countries that take the position that, you know what, it's in our best interest to start working more with the Chinese dollar, the effect's going to be immediate. And on the black population in this country,
devastating. It'll be devastating.
We'll never even see it coming.
Yeah, and we will not see it coming, and it will be devastating, which is why these discussions need to be happening right now. You're absolutely right. All right, let me thank you all that called in. Let me thank Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin. Another great Thursday week of discussing policy. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in. You that called in on couldn't get through, you that wrote on the message board, and I didn't get to your writing, but I see them all. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody that Reverend Al told you personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.